So Kenny, we've known each other for a while, I guess about going back about 5 or 6 years. And I have a good understanding of your the evolution of your thoughts about a lot of things having to do with what's going on in the world and what the challenges are for people who are trying to deal with a lot of the changes that are happening, and it's particularly in the last couple of years that's really accelerated. But I know you, but the folks who are probably listening to this don't know you quite as well as I do. Can you give First of all, can you give me a little? You mentioned to me that you're on a mission
Hmm.
with to a certain extent with appointment setter coaching. It's different
Yeah.
in that regard. Maybe you can give the folks a little bit of background about where you came from, what your experience was, that kind of set the table for
Sure.
kind of where you are right now.
Sure.
Uh,
So the first thing is this. I mean, I think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to start something, you have to have something that you're striving for that's bigger than yourself.
mhm,
Because
mhm,
here's the thing, in the beginning, and this is only in the beginning, the
mhm,
money is great, right? So you make a lot of money, you have the cars, you have the boats, you have the houses, whatever. All that stuff is cool. But after a
mhm,
while, that starts to wear off. That's number one. And it's like, okay,
mhm.
what am I doing this all for? Like I can only have so many cars, so many houses, whatever. I can't get any more stuff, right? This is why a
Yeah.
lot of people that are rich become drug addicts or alcoholics or whatever, because they don't know what to do with all their money, right?
Mhm,
That's number one. Number two, you're going to have a lot of problems, a lot
mhm,
of problems. It's going to be problem after problem after problem. If all you're going for is the money, there's always something else you can go for. So you can go for a different offer, you can go to a different job, you can go to a different building, whatever it is, you can switch and do something else. But if it's a mission driven thing, if you have a purpose behind what you're doing, you stick with it no matter what. No matter how hard
mhm,
it gets, you stick with it because that mission is much more important. So the mission behind appointment setter coaching is that I believe, and I've been saying this for probably 5 or 6 years now, AI
mhm,
outsourcing and automation are taking everybody's job. Now, they may not take them completely, but they're going to limit the amount of work that people do. So, for example, we learned during COVID, now people may disagree with this, but we learned during COVID that kids can learn online. It may
mhm,
not be perfect. We may have to make it
mhm,
better, but they
mhm.
can learn online. So what that means is teachers aren't going to get fired, but one teacher can now handle 150 kids as opposed to one
Right,
teacher handling 10 kids, 15, 20 kids, right? So we're going to need less of them. I get
right.
tickets all the time. I haven't gotten a ticket from a police officer in 10 years. They're all from cameras. So do we need all those police? Do we still need them to kicking doors down and arresting criminals? Do we need them all on the highway with a radar gun stopping people on the highway? Probably not.
Mhm,
So those
mhm,
jobs are still going to be there, but they're going to be limited. Right now, if
mhm,
you are someone who works in an office as an assistant or a secretary or even someone who does like database work or whatever, look, your job is going to be taken by someone in India, in Pakistan, in the Philippines. They can do it for less than you can, period.
mhm,
And
mhm,
they always show up. They don't complain. And look, again, this could be controversial. I don't know. They don't require health insurance. They don't take days off. They're not unionized. They're not. And for someone
mhm,
who owns a business, all these things are attractive because
mhm.
our job as CEOs of companies is to make profit for the business, period. That's it. It's not to provide jobs. That's a big myth. Like provide jobs. That's not it. It's to make money for the company. So I believe that all those jobs that are out there right now are going to be taken or severely limited by
Mhm.
AI outsourcing and automation. Therefore, we need to break out of that system and create a way where we can make an income by ourselves without the need for a job or a boss. In my opinion, the best way to do that is to pair up with another entrepreneur who has already figured that out and kind of just be a spoke in his wheel, whether it's an appointment setter, whether it's a closer, whether it's something like that. But
Mhm.
I believe those are the best ways to do it. And that's why I teach it that way. And it's a process where you can make a pretty good amount of money, six-figure income from home, by just doing it 2 or 3 hours a day when you talk about appointment setting.
Got it. Thank you for that. That's great. And that makes total sense to me. One thing that probably might come up it came up for me and you've answered it for me, but I think it's a good thing to ask here. What makes you feel that AI isn't going to take over this realm that you're talking about training people within?
Right.
Is there
So
something about that
yeah,
makes
so
it
so actually
different?
I'm involved in a company that actually does. So it will to an extent. It will to an
Hmm.
extent. but it will never, in my opinion, in our lifetimes anyway, it will never take away the human interaction of sales. So sales requires a transference of emotion, period.
Mhm.
If you can't
Mhm.
transfer your certainty to that of the prospect, like I have certainty about something, it's an apple or the Sprite bottle, right? I have certainty that the
Mhm.
Sprite is really good. I have to transfer my certainty from me to you in order to get you to buy that. A robot can't do that because a robot doesn't have a
Mhm.
conscience. A robot doesn't have emotion. So it can't
Mhm.
do that just yet. Could it do it 200 years? Maybe, but it's not going to be doing it anytime soon. So
Mhm.
when you're talking about influencing people in such a way where they're going to spend 5, 10, 15, $20,000 with somebody, that can't be done automated just yet.
Right.
It's not going to happen because the emotion needs to be transferred. And a robot
Mhm.
cannot do that because a robot doesn't have conscience. Now, when you talk about appointment setting, can a robot or AI generate leads? Yes, I'm involved in a company that does that. It can do that. With that
Mhm.
said, it takes a lot more contacts, it takes a lot
Mhm.
more leads, and the human interaction is still required at some points because you still need to confirm all the information that's put in there, right? So it's not
Mhm.
100% automated yet. That part of it certainly can be, but that's way, way down the line, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Yeah, you and I have talked about this before. The idea that it will eliminate. There's always got to be a human interaction. I think what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, you got to have a human interaction to transfer that certainty and that belief from one
Yes.
person to another. If you
Yep.
don't have that, if you lose that, a sale probably doesn't happen. So
Right.
this
So,
whole idea,
watch this. This is a great example, right? Did you ever hear of the
okay,
company Carvana?
no, but do
Carvana is
tell.
like they call themselves a car vending machine. So you find the car online, you look at everything online, they have all kinds of pictures, images, videos, everything, and they basically deliver the car to your house. No
Mm-hmm.
human interaction at all, no
Mm-hmm.
emotional
Mm-hmm.
transference whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what happens. You get that car, you have 7 days to return it, right? So someone
Mm-hmm.
buys that car, they go to their mechanic. Their mechanic says, no, don't buy this car. This car is really bad. There's rust here. There's a problem here. This thing's broken. And the car goes back because that human interaction between that person and the mechanic is stronger than the interaction between that and the internet or the AI or the robot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The human interaction between those two people are always
Mm-hmm.
going to be stronger. It's always going to be stronger than an interaction with a robot, AI, a website, or whatever. So things like that, yeah, that happens. Same thing is true with like medicine, right? We have medicine online where you can go and you can do a video thing. And video is still human interaction, but that's never going to take place. If you're really sick, you're not going to do teledoc. You're going to go to a doctor at an office and you're going to see them face to face.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So again,
Yeah.
it limits things, but it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily take everything away. But there are a lot of things that it will take away. And I'm not just talking about AI. I'm talking about AI automation and outsourcing, the big three.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things. I believe in 5 years, Walmart is going to be completely automated. There's going to be
I
no people that the only reason why there's people there now is because the government can't figure out where to put all those people if they get unemployed. Because if
correct.
Walmart goes out and they have no employees there and it's all machines and robots and automated checkout and everything else, where do all the truck drivers go? Where do all the and then the anchor tenants, right? Where do all those people go? Because there's nobody there to shop at their stores anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a very, very tough situation. And that's why I say, look, we could try to fix it, but that's way above my pay grade. Instead of trying to
Right.
fix it, what I try to do is I just try to take people out of it and say, look, do this instead. Don't worry about what's happening in your local main street. Do this instead. And then you'll be good. Your family will be good. Your house will be good. And then let everybody worry about themselves and help out where you can.
Yeah, and before the genesis of virtual closing academy and then appointment setter coaching that you did, you were really intensely focused on helping people break out of that system from starting their own business.
Mm-hmm.
Starting their own, whatever it was, making
Yeah.
money online.
For 15 years, whatever
Right.
it was, whether it's starting an agency, servicing offline businesses, whatever. I mean, for the past 15 years, that's been my sole focus to get people out of that environment and put them in their own environment so that they have true freedom in their life, both financial and time.
So what I want to ask you is, it's interesting. I think I remember, this is maybe 2 years ago, possibly almost 3 years ago, you made this transition into VCA,
Mm-hmm.
and you pretty much, your total focus became VCA and appointment setting and this arena. And I remember you telling, I just in my memory, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you had a discussion with your daughter Danielle. You
Mhm.
remember what I'm talking about?
Yep.
And it really was a kind of a watershed moment for you
Mhm.
around like got you shifted over. I'm wondering, my question really is why, what made you make that shift from focusing on coaching people to start their own business
Mhm.
into doing this instead, basically? Because I think this is really your main focus now. You're not really focused
Right.
on doing that anymore.
Yeah.
What
So
was it about
basically,
that made that?
basically the short story here with my conversation with my daughter is basically I was trying to teach her, tell her something, and she was like, "Well, your people
Mm-hmm.
that you pay, you don't even listen to you. Like they don't even do anything that you teach them. So like, why the hell am I?" And I'm like, "That's a fair point. Like I get it. You know, they don't, and that's just look. That's not me. That's just the information space. Somebody buys a
That's the
book.
industry.
No,
Mm-hmm.
nobody reads a book. They buy it and nobody reads it. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think it's like 10% of people actually finish a book they buy. It's
Mm-hmm.
insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, less than that.
That's just the space, right? And I believe when you talk about starting a business, that is extremely difficult to do. And the success rate there is extremely small. There's a number of different reasons why that is. I think people focus on the wrong stuff for the most part. Someone wants to be a
Mm-hmm.
painter.
Mm-hmm.
They focus on being the best painter instead of finding houses that need to be painted. That's a big
Mm-hmm.
issue.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to appointment setting online or closing online, first of all, the industry is massive. There's opportunities everywhere. You could do it in literally under 24 hours. You could be on an offer. I mean, you know, there's people that experience that all the time. And it's very, very straightforward. You don't need funnels, you don't need ads, you don't need lists, you don't need products, you don't need services, customer support, payment processors. None of that stuff applies. And those are all the headaches that we go through as entrepreneurs, right? I am worried every day about my payment processor. I'm worried about my email list every single day. Like all those things, looking at funnel data and webinar data, like all this stuff we have to
Mm-hmm.
focus on. When you're setting appointments with somebody else, they're focusing on all those things. You're just focusing on showing up and working the calendar. That's it. And if that's all you have to do is show up and work the calendar, life is pretty easy. Now, look, I'm going to be very, very honest, and you know this, but I just want the audience to know this as well. We're not talking about Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and jets here. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we do here. All right. What we do is we teach you how to make a full-time income, 80, 90, 100, 120 grand a year if you're good. And then if you want to transition into closing, you can do that and make 200 grand a year. A full-time income, legitimate amount of money from home in a couple hours a day, working on your phone, DMing other people's leads. It's a very, very simple process. And I believe the reason why I'm going all in on it is because I believe, or have been going all in on it for the past year and a half, is because I believe anyone can actually do it if they're just willing to show up and do the work. That's the only requirement. And I say that over and over again. The only requirement is showing up and doing the work.
I agree. I mean, you know, that's been my experience, and you know that I've been working the process, and that's what I found. So I agree with you. One of the things that really strikes me is that the timing on this is really important. Okay, and what I mean by that is, if you look at the statistics, just in technology, in the technology industry, in the first 6 months of the year, about 120,000 jobs have been shed. People have been laid off. 120,000 people laid off just in the tech sector. So I think that adds some evidence to what you're talking about as far as AI and automation and outsourcing is definitely having that kind of profound impact. So with that in mind, what's your take on the importance of this? I mean, we're talking about a mission-driven effort.
Right.
What I want to get. I mean, it makes total sense everything you said, and it's important, it's essential. But to you, I want to understand from you as a person, you as in your heart, and I know that you're not a very sentimental guy, so forgive me, but I'm going to go there with you for just a minute. What is it about this that that drives you? Because I know you're a
You're
very
talking
driven
specifically
person.
about it, like specifically about appointment setter coaching and VCA, or are you talking about like with the
I'm
AI
talking.
automation stuff?
Well, I think the connect we made the connection, right? So
Right.
you're focused on this almost exclusively now because you think this is the best way to address that, to address the AI, the automation, the profound impact that that's going to have, the profound dislocation that that's going to have for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people out there.
Right.
You and I have talked about the fact that, you know, we're talking to other folks in the space initially about ASC, but really you're excited about the idea of going and talking to nonprofits, talking to organizations that deal with the dislocation, are in the middle of retraining these hundreds of thousands of people who are used to a corporate job. They're not used to running their own business, right? So that's where I'm going, is like, what is it? What do you want? What is it inside your heart that says, I got to do this? Like, what's, I know there's something going on there. I'm trying to drive at it for you personally.
So first of all, I just want to address one thing. You said that you asked why I believe this is the best way forward for people when it comes to the, like people are going to lose their job because of AI automation outsourcing, or it's going to be severely limited. That's a fact. Why do I believe this is the best way to go forward? I don't know if I actually do believe it's the best way to go forward, and I'm just being honest with you. It's a way to go forward. Let's just put it that way. I don't know if you know how to run a painting company, then you should probably go do that. If you know how to do a landscaping company, because AI is never going to take that away from you, right? They're never going to be able to take that skill. Automation is never going to take that. There's never going to be, well, I guess there already is an automated lawnmower, but it's never going to be the same as like a landscaping company coming to your house, right? So those trades are still, someone's going to need to do HVAC. That's never going to be replaced. You can't outsource it. You can't automate it. Like, that's not going to be replaced. So do I believe this is the best? I don't know. I don't know if it's the best or not. But what I do know is that I could teach it. And I know it really well. And I know it is a way, right? So I've been doing sales for 25 years. This is what I can offer to the community. This is what I can offer to the world as my way out. If I knew how to run a painting company, I'd probably teach that. If I knew how to run a landscaping company, I'd probably teach that. But the bottom line is, all I've ever done since I'm 15 years old is sell stuff. So this is what I know, and this is definitely a way out. Is it the only way? Absolutely not. There's other ways out as well. But here's the bottom line. You got to pick one way, and you got to go quickly. Because if you think that your accounting job is going to be here in 5 years, you're going to get run over by the train. And I don't want to see that happen. You know, I just, and it's going to hurt a lot of people. And I'm trying to do my part to prevent that from happening as much as I possibly can. And again, this is what I know the best because I've been doing it for 25 years.
Got it. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. And I know that the other piece of it too is the young people coming up, you know, people who are entering into the industry, entering into, whether it's high ticket or they're trying to deal with corporate jobs, or which are getting, you know, the population of those jobs are getting smaller and smaller. Talk to me a little bit about what your thoughts about how somebody who's younger, maybe he's not like me and middle-aged and dealing with a corporate shift, but somebody who's maybe coming out of college or even coming out of high school, how would this be of value to that population of people?
Right. So a couple things. First of all, about college in general and high school and all that. I think most people in my industry, will say, the entrepreneur, Facebook person or whatever, they just, all they do is bash on college, bash on school. It's terrible. It's a waste of money. And look, if you're going to go study French history, it probably is a waste of money. But here's the thing. Learn the lesson of what college is really supposed to be teaching you. If you're a young person, if you're 18, 19 years old, learn the lesson that it's really teaching you, which is pay attention to small detail. You have deadlines. If you miss something, you're screwed. And you got to do the work that's required, not your best. Doing your best doesn't work. Doing what's required works. Right. So I don't really care if you're learning math or science. Like, that doesn't matter. What matters is, are you getting the assignments done on time? Are you researching the right way? Are you writing the right way? Are you paying attention to small details? Are you missing the grammar in your paper? If you are, then you're missing small details. If you're missing small details, you have a big problem in all of life, no matter what it is. No matter what you do in life, if you start missing small details, you have a big problem. So that's the college thing. And the other thing about younger people entering into the workforce or whatever, you have to understand that this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this too. You can't be a 18-year-old life coach. Like people are laughing at you
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day. You can't be a 20-year-old sales expert. You don't know what you're talking about. And the
Well,
problem
maybe
is,
maybe Caleb Maddox can do it, but it can't be repeatable by a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
right. And I
Yeah.
think that someone like him, I mean, he did it, I guess, the right way. If there is a
Hmm.
right way to do that, he did it the right way, which is he started off by, when he was 16, 17 years old, talking to kids that were 12, 13 years old.
Hmm.
Right. So
Hmm.
he already moved, he already went through that path. Right. So that's
Hmm.
kind of valid. But if you're 20 years old and you're trying to be a life coach to a 45-year-old person, it's not going to work. If you're trying to teach someone sales and you're a sales expert or a marketing expert or whatever at 20 years old, you're making everybody else's job harder. And all the people that are in my position are looking at you like you're an idiot because you're making
Hmm.
our lives miserable. You're making our, because
Hmm.
people are coming to
Hmm.
us learning your stuff. We have to not only train them, but we have to untrain all your garbage and train our stuff that actually works. So my advice to those people is to swallow your ego and pride a little bit. Don't worry about how many likes, shares, and comments you get on Facebook and Instagram. Go work for somebody else and actually get the reps in.
Hmm.
I believe the two biggest skills you can learn in your life is your mind. Number one, how to control your mindset, identity, how to control your mindset, and how to influence, how to sell, how to market, how to get people in, right?
Yep.
Those are the two
Yep.
biggest skills you can learn. If you learn those two things, you can do anything you want. Doesn't matter. The way you learn those, though, is not by reading a book. It's not by taking a course. It's not by watching a video. You can learn them there, but you have to apply them and get the knowledge and get the wisdom out of it. So the best way to do that is to walk into any place and say, I want to sell for you, a car dealership, a mortgage company, whatever. I want to sell for you. I'm willing to do whatever I got to do. Just teach me and I'll do it. And do that for 5 or 10 years. Then go out and do your thing. Because now you're actually an expert because you've been through it. You've taken the reps. When I take training calls, I do training calls every Wednesday and Thursday.
Hmm.
When I do
Hmm.
that, I tell them, any objection you can come up with, give it to me, and I will guarantee you that I can overcome it. And I've never missed because I've heard
Yep.
them all 1,000 times. The
Yeah, I've been
20-year-old
there.
person who wants to be an expert can't do that. So
Hmm.
I believe the best advice, number one, if you're going to college, going to school, whatever, know the real lesson. You got to be there at a certain time. That's important, right? That's a really important lesson. Small details. Pay attention to the small details and get the stuff done. Do what's required. Don't do your best. Don't try your best. Do what's required, regardless of if it's your best or not. And then understand that you can't be an expert by just learning something and repeating it. You become an expert by learning something, doing it for years and years and years and years, and then you could show other people how to do it.
Yeah, what you're talking about is a daily discipline that I think that is the primary reason you go to college. Like I was one of those weird majors that you talk about. I was in communications, but I focused on theater and history.
Mm-hmm.
However, I had a real strong production element in my training at my school. It was the best theater training school in the country. Okay.
Right.
So I was doing productions and I had deadlines. All that stuff was true. And what I'm seeing in the industry now and with the young people coming up is they don't have any reference point for it. And people also who are losing their jobs, who had that structure, don't have a reference point coming out of that job into starting their own business because
Right.
the discipline for that is so intense to run your own business. All the things you got to do as a CEO, it takes years to figure out how to do that successfully.
Right.
What I think the value is that I'm seeing, and I want you to talk to this, and
Sure.
we'll wrap it up with this. How is what you're focusing on now almost like a shortcut or a fast track to people being successful, whether they're coming up from school or they're coming out of that corporate environment where they're losing their job? How do you see it as a better choice than going out and starting their own painting business or starting their own company or being a life coach or whatever? I think you've spoken to that, but I want to, in summary,
Sure.
for people listening, what does that look like to you? Why is that the better choice?
Right. So what I teach is exactly what I just said.
Right.
It is the way to do it the right way is to not read a book and then go try to teach it to somebody else because that's what someone else is doing online. It's to
Mm-hmm.
go and learn a skill. What
Mm-hmm.
I teach people how to do is to go out and do that. But I make it cool.
Mm-hmm.
I make it fun. I make it the internet guy way, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you go out and you be a high ticket closer. You go out and you be an appointment. Look, that's the same thing as being a car salesman. It's no different.
I
It's
know.
no different.
That's my experience too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing. But
Yeah.
there's one big difference though. And that is a car salesman, you're required to be there at 9 a.m. You're required to leave. So you have meetings, you have this. So with high ticket closing or appointment setting, whatever, you set your own calendar. You got a sports event you got to go to with your kids. Block that time off. You're not gonna get calls, right? You got something to do in the morning. You only want to work in the afternoon. Block out the whole morning. It's fine. So you get to set your own schedule. It's like living the entrepreneurial lifestyle that everybody sells you. That's not true. And I'll get to that in a second. But it's like living that, but without having to start a business. Okay. Now let's get to the entrepreneurial lifestyle for a second. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
What we're sold in Facebook ads and YouTube videos is beach martinis and half naked women all over the place. What it is really like is if you saw my desk right now, there's wires everywhere. Mm-hmm. There's spilled stuff. There's papers all over the place. I don't even know what this is on this book. I don't even know what it is. That's from like a week ago. And I've been here since 7 and I won't leave until probably 10 o'clock at night. And I've been doing it for 15 years. Mm-hmm. That's actually the entrepreneurial lifestyle. That's really what it is. But we're being sold this dream of being on the beach all day. And my boat is out there. Beautiful boat. I love to fish. I took it out once all year. It's June 21st.
I know. So
that. I'm usually out. But look, we're in startup mode again. We're starting new things. So I have to be here literally all the time. I was talking to you last night while I was waiting for my daughter to start her hitting lesson.
I heard the pounding of the balls in the background.
I'm saying that was the one before her, right? So
right.
The thing is that these younger people have to understand that that I understand they're being sold this stuff online through TikTok and Instagram or whatever, but that's not reality. Reality is starting a business takes a very, very long time. Most of the time, you don't see any money for years. I wasn't profitable in my first business started in 2007. I wasn't making money until like 2010. And when I was doing making money there, it was not that much. I was barely surviving. It wasn't until 12, 13, 14 where I started to make real money, when I started to collaborate with bigger people, stuff like that. That's when I started to make it. So it's a long journey of garbage. And that's why, again, we bring it circle all the way back to the beginning. That's why the mission is so important. Because if you have a real mission behind what you're doing, you will deal with that garbage and not make any money and then work a second job, a third job, whatever, to make ends meet while you're building that mission-driven thing. Because you know that, number one, the mission's going to happen. And number two, if you stick with it for 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 years, it will eventually work and it will eventually be your legacy and what you're known for. And that's what people need to understand. It's the lifestyle of an entrepreneur is not what you are sold. It's completely different. Now, when we compare that to appointment setter coaching or virtual close, like being a closer or a setter, the reason why I love this so much is because you can live the lifestyle that people are selling you. You can have the free time. You can have the beach days. You can have the boat days. The only thing is, though, you're not going to have the Ferraris. You're not going to have the Lamborghinis. You're not going to have the mansions. But the chances of you actually getting to that point anyway are almost zero. It's just statistically, it's pretty much zero. So your alternative is you can make 100, 200 grand a year doing something with somebody else, partnering with somebody else, and have all the free time in the world. Yes, you're not going to be a business owner, but I got to be honest with you, being a business owner kind of sucks. It's freaking terrible, actually. Like I've been doing it for 15 years. It's horrible. So the money's great. The money's great. The notoriety sometimes can be good or it could be bad. The connections that you make are great, but look, most of the time, life is pretty bad as a business owner. Most of the time. So this is a way where you can make the money and also have the time to enjoy the things you actually enjoy doing. And I know I'm going long here, but I just want to finish this one thing. And you get to make a massive impact. And that is the most important thing. Because here's the thing. You work on an offer. Let's say it's a fitness offer. You're talking to women that are overweight their whole entire lives. You get that person onto a sales call with a closer. That person puts that woman in that program. That woman loses 40 pounds. Her entire life has changed and her children's lives are changed because now she has the skills to teach them. The impact that you can have in this industry is massive. And that's if I want to end it on something, that's the main mission. It's helping my people get out of that 9 to 5 environment, because I believe it's gone. I believe it's going to leave them. They're going to get fired or laid off, whatever. But it's also the ripple effect of that person talking to a prospect, that prospect joining the program, and then that person changing their life and then helping their children do the same thing, whether that's financial, whether that's health and fitness, whether that's relationships. You're breaking a chain in a family tree that can't be broken any other way.
So what I'm hearing is that was great, and you didn't go long. That's exactly what I wanted to get to, is your mission, from what you're telling me, is to give other people, to give the people you're providing this training for, a purpose, a new purpose, and a mission themselves.
Yep.
And to give them an opportunity to make an impact and make a difference. Is that
100%? 100%. Because look, you're going to be on, whether you're a setter or whatever, but you're going to be talking to people. They're going to say no to you. They're going to say, no, I don't want this, or no, I don't want to do that, or whatever. If you're purely money focused, that's going to bother you. If you are mission driven, you're just going to take it and be like, okay, whatever. I'll just help.
There's always going to be people. There's always going to be people who are going to say no. I mean,
right.
Know,
so if you're helping people with money that are broke, like it's something that I do a lot, right? If I'm helping somebody to make an income from home or whatever, and they're like, no, I'm not interested in this right now, I'll just say, okay, well, there's some free resources online that you can watch. Maybe they'll help you. And if they help you, you want to come back, then you could talk to me, and I'll always be here to help you if you need my help. I could do that because I'm not focused on only the money. I'm focused on the overall mission. If I was focused on the money and that person said, I'm not interested, what would I do? I'd rebut that, and I'd punch him in the face, and I'd mad him until he bought, and I'd force people into the program. You don't have to do that if you're mission driven.
Right.
You don't have to, if you're mission driven, you don't do that. You just take the no's and the rejection, which is in this business. Let's be honest. You don't get it all that often. I actually, when I'm doing training, I have trouble coming up with objections because, and you know this, Dave, because you're on the calls. I can't come up with objections because you don't get really that many. But the bottom line is, when you go through trouble, you're going to keep driving forward if you're driven by a mission. If you're driven by the money, as soon as you get any kind of resistance, you're going to stop and look for something else. That's why you buy things and you quit, and you buy things and you quit. You buy things and you quit because you're only looking for the money. If you look for the money and the mission, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You'll just continue to push forward. This program, Appointment Setter Coaching, is designed to get, like Dave said, is designed to give you a purpose behind what you're doing. Not just profit. Profit's important. We're business owners, but a purpose behind it as well. I chased the money for years, and it was fun, and I made a lot of it. But the purpose and seeing the results of people that I work with is much more enjoyable than just the money. Now, one last thing. I talk a lot, for those of you who don't know. One last thing. We can't just all be purpose-driven, right? I'm not giving you a Gary Vee talk here. We can't only be about the purpose, only be about the passion. I don't care if you make 10 grand a year. Just be about this, as long as you love what you do. No, not at all. We have to be realistic. We have to live, right? We have to make a serious income, 80, 100, 200 grand a year, whatever it is.
Right.
We have to make a serious income and have that purpose. It's not one or the other. We have to have both. And I believe that this type of environment, the high ticket space, the high ticket ecosystem is what I call it. I believe that provides that for literally everybody, as long as they're willing to do the work.
Yes, I would agree with you. And one last thing that you said that was really important is you have to have both. And you know, from my experience, I've run a small business here in where I live for the last 3 years during COVID, while trying to build my other business that I wanted to do, and that didn't work out the way I expected it to work out. Where I can do both, I feel, and I've been experiencing that through this new framework that you're talking about, and that's probably, I'm probably a good example of that, because I was in corporate sales and technology for 30 years.
Right. And
so this feels better. This feels more comfortable. And I'm not looking for the Lambos and the girls and the jets. I'm looking for a comfortable existence that I had in my previous life. And
Yeah,
that's
so
what you're
most people
talking
are.
about.
So
Yeah,
most people are like that. Most people are not looking for the Lamborghini, the jet, and all that. Most people are looking for they just want to live a comfortable. They don't want to just survive. They want to thrive a little. But
sure.
the thing is, though, is that all the ads they see are Lamborghinis, the ClickFunnels plaque that people don't realize
Right.
it, but everybody pays for them. No, none of those guys, all those guys are broke. I know most of them, they're all broke. That's what works in the ad. That's what makes people click on the ad. That's the flashy thing that gets the engagement, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they think that in order for me to live free and not have to worry about money and have time on my side, I have to make it to that level. You don't. You
Mm-hmm.
don't at all.
Mm-hmm.
You could
Mm-hmm.
very easily make 120 grand. I know hundreds of people that do it. You can make 120, 150 grand a year from home in 3 or 4 hours a day, live perfectly fine, and nobody even knows who the hell you are. And that's
Right.
a fantastic life to live. It
And
just is. And that's what most people want.
you take care of your family, you
Yep.
take care of your obligations, you live a comfortable life, you can go on vacation, all the
Yeah.
things that you were doing before in the corporate environment, and that somehow you lost when you got laid off the last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
And
you're
it takes 2 or
working
3 hours a day to do. It doesn't take 12 hours a day to do.
12 hours a day to do. Great. Hey, I know you're busy and I know you got something coming up here, so I'll wrap this up. I just want to say, first of all, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
I think this was a really good overview, and everybody who's listening to this got a real better understanding of the mission. And the mission is to give other people purpose and mission, and a thriving lifestyle. So appreciate your time, Kenny. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for doing it.